Hello, this is Cindy Mazzaferro with Powerful Beyond Measure, and I have a really wonderful guest today. Her name is Lisa Barnett, and we're going to be talking about the Akashic Records. So let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. Hi, Lisa, by the way. So Lisa helps people who are struggling with many different kinds of issues, but who don't understand why. If you feel you are doing all the right things, but still get no results at all, Lisa can zero in on the blocks, whether they are recent ones or from your childhood or even a past life. With guidance from your Akashic masters and energetic healing on a soul level, Lisa helps you break through your blocks, clear those emotional pains and fears and karma from past lives to help you bring healing and confidence into your life. Lisa is an international known author, Akashic teacher, consultant, and founder of the Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. She is a clear channel of divine wisdom, an energy master and spiritual teacher with more than 20 years of spiritual counseling and energetic healing to assist you. Lisa helps you realize how your soul contracts can create and affect your relationships, how unknown karma may act as a block in your life, and how past lives' vows can hold you back. Her unique healing technique called pain body release helps her clients let go of accumulated emotional pain from both their past and current lives. This ancient wisdom is here to help humanity create steps to their life, their heart, and their soul's desires. So, Lisa, I am so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
And I also know you have a brand new book coming out. It is on Amazon, From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. Do you have the book there to show us? I love the cover.
I do. Yes. So, I really channel this Akashic record information. And about a year or so ago, they said, it's time to bring healing prayers to the world. A very simple tool that people can just do every day. So you could open the book and pick a prayer that resonates with you, or some people like to work on, say, forgiveness. There's a forgiveness prayer, or we want to work on some of our old ancestral karma, and there's prayers for that. So you can use it. I even had one of my readers write to me today, and they say, I'm reading it cover to cover, and I put a list of the 73 prayers in the table of contents. He said, I'm perusing the list every day and see what jumps out to work on. So it is the Akashic Masters' new gift to the world to help us heal with ease and grace, because that's really what it's about now, right? Isn't it?
I love that. And, we do make it so hard to heal. And like you said, just simple prayers, that connection to source, to God, the word that you want to use, is so beautiful and so effortless. And you just almost surrender and giving your worries onto the greater source.
Yes. Yeah, it really is amazing how kind of simple and beautiful and to me, one of the things that I always like to say is that, of course, so many of us pray. I thought it was fascinating that it was something like 96% of people, it was very high. No, not usually in church, but we pray in one way or another to source, to God, to angels, just to our higher good. We pray for our friends when they're ill or having surgery, all of these things, right? We pray a lot. And the thing with this book, when the Akashic Masters asked me to write it, I said, kind of why me? Why something different? And they said, because we will imbue these prayers with divine source energy. It is filled with the wisdom, the light, and the love of the Akashic record.
Beautiful. And I've read a few of them, and I've seen them on Amazon. I'm waiting for my book to arrive at my home. So I'm really looking forward to using them on a regular basis. I love that.
Good.
I love that.
Good.
So for some people that are listening, they might not know what the Akashic records are and the Akashic masters. Can you just explain a little bit about that as a basis?
Yes, absolutely. So the Akashic record are the record of your soul. So each person has their very own record. So the record of your soul, everything your soul has been and done through time immemorial since your soul individuated from source and went on a journey. And so everything you are, all of your gifts and talents, all of the great wisdom you've learned through so many lives here on earth and other places and realms, it is all written in your Akashic record. And there are greater records. There's records of planet Earth. There's records of our soul groups and soul families. We have a soul plan before we come in to each lifetime. We make a plan. We come to do certain things. Certain to support them, and they support us. We maybe have soul contracts with our children, our parents, our spouses, right? So we actually plan this out before we become embodied and plan in your all the whether we call it karma or past life vows, it's all written about. So it's really very cool because most of us feel like we're stumbling around in the world and we can access, which is lovely to know.
It is. It is. So the Akashic Masters are like the librarians of the area where our Akashic records are kept. Is that correct?
Absolutely, that's right. So because you have your very own library, you have your very own librarians.
Oh.
So we don't even share them. You have your own divine source beings of light. They've never been human. They're not ascended masters. They're not your, great grandmother who's crossed over. These are specific beings who only keep the records for us. So you have your own dozen or more, Cindy. I've got my own dozen or more. And they're literally just waiting to be of assistance, to help us out, to guide us, to talk to us about what karma you wanted to complete, what lessons you wanted to learn, why you wrote that soul contract. All of this information, they're here to help us, to guide us, to lead us, to make life easy.
Great. I don't know if we're having any difficulties with the interruption with the technology. I hear a little beep here or there, so we're just going to continue on and hope that that is not happening actually live. So let me ask you, does that mean all our actions and our decisions have been actually pre-scripted, or do we still have free will? And how does that relate to our Akashic records?
Yeah, fabulous question. We make a plan, so we have a soul plan, but it is not written in stone. So the interesting thing is that we do love planet Earth. We do love to be human because this is one place that we really get that free will. And because of this, what we often do is we say, I'm going to write a half a dozen soul contracts to have significant partners. So you may, because you may not know if you're going to end up in London or in New York or in, Houston. Right? You don't know where you're going to end up in the world. It's a little, we make choices, we choose families, we choose areas, but it's, again, not written in stone. And along in your life, along the way, my parents moved from Chicago to California when I was a teenager, right? So handy that I had a contract with someone here. I probably had a contract with someone in Chicago, right? And I've certainly met people all over the world that I have that are part of my soul family, that I have very deep support and, loving friendship contracts with. So we make plans, but we also make contingency plans because we're really smart and we get that this is not written in stone. It's, so sometimes people write a soul contract or two to have children, and they may end up deciding not to have children for some reason or another. So it's fine. It's okay. That soul will go on and write a new contract and go on and have different parents.
That makes perfect sense, because if everything was scripted out, then why bother even living it? If it's just going to be the exact movie that you've written out, why bother coming and living it?
Right.
So that totally makes sense. So for people who have people in their lives that are supporting, that's wonderful. And we have people in our lives that are combative, difficult to coexist with. Could be spouses, children, bosses, friendships, parents even.
Yeah.
How should we view those struggles that either with people or opportunities? What would you say about that?
Well, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. And this is one of the things I love about the Akashic Record, because there's so much information that we sometimes choose a family not so much for the parents, but for someone else in that family. So you may choose a family for the grandmother who's really going to end up raising you. And you may think, why did I pick those parents who abandoned me, right? But the truth is, your soul contract was actually with your grandmother or your aunt or with your sibling. And so if we can understand that and let go of some of that trauma or belief that our parents have to be wonderful, good, great, loving parents, we kind of give ourselves and those souls who were our parents, we give them a break. And then, of course, there's some level or layer of learning, maybe about completing some task or some support, or really learning a lesson, because we come to do it all. So we may end up picking these parents who abandoned us, and it's about completing and learning and understanding abandonment and doing some healing for ourselves. And one of the things that's so important to remember when we heal and learn and grow spiritually for ourselves, that ripples out into the universe and it affects everyone. So as we heal our own personal abandonment issues or our abuse issues, we are doing it for the collective. We're doing it for humanity. So it takes a lot of us to heal these huge, kind of issues and rifts that have been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And there's some real big ones that are up on the plate to heal right now. Rebalancing male-female energy is one of them. Healing abuse, healing abandonment. All of these are really big, and they can show up very traumatically in our lives. And we think, why would I pick this trauma in my life? But as a soul, infinite, divine soul, it's not a big deal. A life is relatively short, really, right? In the scheme of the billions of years you live. And so we choose these things really altruistically to learn, to grow, for spiritual growth, and to help heal and raise the vibration of humanity.
Well, you hit home there a little bit with abandonment, because my parents divorced when I was 7. So I couldn't understand, as a second oldest child, one from 9 years of age and 9 months of age, I couldn't understand my perception of why would a father that has 5 beautiful daughters just walk away and abandon us. Now, my older sister viewed it differently. My youngest sister was 9 months old, never had a father, really. She was an infant. So her perception of that wounding, her karma, her path that she's learning and growing from in this life is totally different than what mine is. And I wrote a book. I actually ended up having even difficulty with my own husband, who at one point said he loved me but couldn't live with me. It was like the same thing my father said to me. It was kind of repetitive. So, those things you can't almost create. It's like, wait a minute, that's like a wake-up call. That's the same energy, same vibration. What's going along with this message, this lesson for me to learn? And in my book, Powerful Beyond Measure, it helps you go through that process and connect the dots, kind of discover what it is you're wounding that might have some role into your soul contract, as you're referring to them. So I love that you brought that up. And I really think that what you also said, which is really powerful, is that it's not just about you, that your personal growth has an impact on the collective whole. And for me, it's my book, Reaching Out and Helping to Heal. I know it's your work that you're so passionate about, and reaching out to people all over the world for so many years, healing and allowing them to explore and connect with that higher wisdom. And so I think what it would be helpful for people to realize here, that when you're struggling and you're lost and feeling it's all about you and poor me, that it's not about just you, and that as you grow and learn, that you're having an impact on a greater whole. I love that. I think that's so important, Lisa.
Yeah. And you've written a book and you've really brought that learning out in a big way. But it's also important to know that one person may impact one other person, and that's life-changing for those two people. So it's important to know that it doesn't have to be the world or a big community or even a book. You could impact that one friend, that person who may be feeling like they're teetering on suicide because they've been so abandoned in their life, and to be held and loved and seen for the truth of who they are because someone else understands that pain is, of course, life-changing for both of them.
Absolutely. I love that, Lisa.
Yeah.
And so that what you're saying is, if you're just a typical woman, male, listening to this, and you feel like you're not making this monumental, huge impact in the world, that's a false belief. And that it's the ripple effect, right, Lisa? That little, you touch another person, another energy, and then that ripples out, and you pay it forward. It continues to cascade out. And I think that's really potent information, and to realize that you have this impact on everyone.
Right. Every good deed we do, every smile, every just, being that love, letting your heart be open, seeing people for the truth of who they are as a divine soul, because it's literally all we can really be as a divine soul. We are all part of, divine source, the unified field of one. And it really is all perfect, even if it's not looking like that at the moment, or we had parents who didn't act like that. The truth is that this is one of the biggest processes humanity's going through right now, is moving through some of these big challenges, from war to peace, from peace to enlightenment, from anger, hatred to forgiveness and to love. Again, these all are paths really to awakening to the higher vibrations. And this is, where we're all being asked to go, to hold that space. And for me, I just, I got rid of my TV about 15 years ago because I decided that, news was not making it any easier for me to do that sort of work. So, and I felt the same thing for my children. I thought, I don't think this is useful to expose them to this every single day. And so, 15 years later, of course we have, internet and movies, et cetera, but, they are very kind, loving, gentle, concerned souls who really see that higher love and light in the world. And this is what, we're asking of ourselves. This is what we really came as souls to do in every little increment of what that means. So it may be just making it through the day and loving yourself enough to make it to tomorrow. It may be forgiving someone who yells at you, or being kind and gentle to the poor, the homeless person that you walk by every day. Every little bit really is huge. And for me, working in the Akashic Records, kind of seeing the bigger expanse, understanding that most of us live hundreds and hundreds of lives. We do it all. We're the light, we're the dark, we're the wonderful, kind, loving parent and the not so loving parent. We abandon, we stay put. We're the healers, we're the wise men and women, we're the shaman. And we're the opposite, of that. We're the sick, we're the scared, we're the, fearful, the traumatized. And so this is why literally we come to this planet, because we can experience every piece of it.
So what should then people do to remove these blocks, to understand their karma, to be able to communicate with the Akashic Record, whether they do it with you, or what can they do on their own? How does that unravel for them?
So there's of course, many different layers the masters, give me, and I'll reach for my other book. So I have another book which is called The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, and it actually is a how-to book. It teaches you in this simple book, step by step, the 5-step Akashic wisdom prayer system that the beings of light have given me, so that people can learn to access their own Akashic records every day. So let me just grab that book. I'll show you. Also, on Amazon, this has been an international best-selling book for the last 2 years, actually. So The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, the How to Access Your Records book. And I, of course, do readings, healings. I do this for my clients. I teach online because I find that a lot of people find it easier to show up for a class every, day for 6 weeks than to, pick up that book and work on their own. I'm one of those people. I'm really good showing up on, online class, but give me a book. I don't know that I'll get through it. So,
Well, there's nothing like interaction. I know you work with clients, I work with clients, and when you listen to a client and they share, what comes out of them is so so valuable, because you can actually discern so much which your soul is expressing, but for the individual, you're kind of deaf to that own wisdom. And so for the listener, for the counselor, the coach, we're able to help extrapolate that information and turn it into some inner wisdom that can guide you through this area of blockage.
Right,
So
right. And as we work, of course, as I'm working with these beings of light. So when I work with a client, clients will come to me and I will open their Akashic record and speak to these beings of light that keep their records for time immemorial. And so when they say, what is creating this, block to abundance? How come I'm having a hard time finding a good job or keeping a job? Or, why am I afraid to get out there and do what I want to do, to write my book or to do a radio show? What is blocking me? I know I'm afraid, but I don't know why. The Akashic Masters literally tell me, the specifics, all these lifetimes, the childhood pain or trauma, the ancestral beliefs, all these different, pieces that we've come to understand and learn about. And then, of course, I'm able to clear that for my clients, which is also something I teach in my workshop. So, yeah,
that's
because
something
it's time.
that's something you can actually, I don't want to put you on the spot. So if you need more time and you're not in the right state, are you able to even pull up my Akashic records and speak to my masters on anything right now, or is that more difficult to do at the moment?
Well, honestly, this is the way I work in the records. It's a 5-step process. And so I would literally want to take, the 2 minutes it takes to put that energy into opening your records. Now,
Sure.
all of that said, I get a boatload of information. So, of course, I'm just told to talk about abandonment. Obviously, it's because it resonates and makes sense with you. They
Right.
didn't say, oh, Cindy had this experience. I just know I'm talking about abandonment, and people say, oh, I had that experience, right? So, I kind of say yes and no. So that's the way I kind of work with the energy. Is I really like to go really deep for my clients. And if you have a question, you could ask it. We can see what we get, right? So it's kind of a very interesting process for me because I'm always really in the records. So I get a lot of download and a lot of information. But I also am a great believer in pure integrity. So I do not want to be invasive in anyone's records without their consent and their permission. And that's why I work with the records in that sort of way, where your consent to open your records, then I would open and ask those questions, right?
Very respectful. And that's very important. And that's not that, and I think you would agree, for people that are listening, Liz is not here to tell you this is what you're supposed to do. It's not a fortune teller event. It's more of a learning and growing. And she's getting this intellectual download, divine intellectual download that can help you navigate where you are in life, where you're going, and some struggles that you might be experiencing. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think what's really wonderful, and we all also, I really believe, intuition is a form of that inner wisdom. And Lisa goes even higher and more intensive because she's working with your records that has an archival accounting of what is going on in this physical life and past lives, which is not necessarily what your intuition that we rely on is going to give you as well. So it's much deeper and much more profound, and it can really give you enormous amount of breadth of knowledge. So I think it's fabulous. I've read a few of Lisa's books. She's written many, and I have used the prayers, and I'm able to. I'm not as proficient as Lisa by any means, let me tell you, but I mean, I do feel that I'm able to start to retrieve some of my own information, and the more you do it, I guess the better you get. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in the first book, In the Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, where I give you step by step, processes and the access prayers and the meditations, and it's practice. Anything worth learning is worth practicing. So, it for some people it's really instantaneous. Most people feel the energy shift, but for many of us, it really is. You go deeper, you go deeper, you go deeper. So I teach more than 3 layers of courses. So in the first course, you learn to read, just like when you're in first grade, you learn to read a book. And then in the second course, we go into self-mastery and self-love, where we really go into all these different realms, which have to do with childhood experiences, your soul contracts, your ancestral lineage, your past lives, your gifts and talents, your creativity. So you can really start to access all of this wonderful information and clear and release that which is blocking you.
Great. And so many people in today's world are looking for that purpose, that passion, to reignite this passion. And there's emotional parts that keep them from aspiring, from going forward. What do you feel emotions have a lot to do with how we live and navigate and move forward in life?
Yeah, absolutely. And what we really also realize is how much emotions and stuck emotions affect our health, right? So, so being able to understand them, where they're coming from, why one thing will push someone's buttons and for everyone else around them, they're like, I don't understand why that's a big deal. Well, there are layers and layers of information. And again, this is why the Akashic Records are so phenomenal. Often when I ask a question in the Akashic Records, the masters will give us 3, 4, 5, 6 layers and reasons, because it's never one, you know? And so we can start to unravel, where's this pain come from? Why would you pick a family with abandonment issues? Where, in what past lives may you have abandoned others? Because we always want to do both sides of any situation. So if we've been abandoned, we've abandoned others, right? So all of this information is in there, and as we start to see and understand it, we can let go of the fear, the pain, you know, the victimhood, the, you know, the trauma, the belief that this person has come to hurt me, because we can start to see, oh, well, it, you know, it isn't about hurt or harm, it's about learning and growth, and we can start to let some of that emotional pain and trauma go.
I love what you just said, and I want to just paraphrase it, because I think it's so pertinent. And that is, you said what we are experiencing now, whether it's abandonment and someone abandoned you, that you were the other side of the coin in a different life. You were the abandoner. So maybe I was a father or a mother who abandoned a child, and now I get to see what that felt like by receiving that. I think that's so important, because as people are experiencing their present life, and maybe classify themselves as a victim or someone that's suffering or lacking something, that just to take a pause and say, wow, you mean, so here I am, this subservient wife or even a male partner. You mean, in what time in my life I wasn't subservient? I was the bully. I was the dominating partner. Wow. So maybe I need to look at that aspect a little differently. So how would you then navigate or tell or teach or counsel someone that's now saying, okay, I'm trying to deal with this bossy husband, let's just say, someone who's really controlling. I know this is part of my journey. How would you help them to realize what they might need to do in that scenario?
So, of course, we are asking our Akashic record keepers, the masters, the beings of light, to say, well, you know, is this soul contract complete? Now that I see it and I understand it, what is my highest and best next step? And you know what? There are times where a soul contract is complete. You may have contracted with that challenging spouse to help and support them, for both of you to learn and grow. And if they're not on board and they're not going to learn and grow, your soul contract may be complete. Or say you may have it's karmic, what we talk about, you know, karma is about coming full circle, learning both sides of the coin, creating that completion, so we understand it all. And once we come to that place and that karma is complete, we then get to choose. Do we go forward? Do we stay in the relationship? Is this person willing to grow? And the thing that I think is fascinating is often our partners, or sometimes it might be a boss, it might be a child, it might be somebody else in the family, but they actually change with you, because as you are raising your vibration, moving into your heart, moving into a place of unconditional love, seeing them in a different way. So you've stopped fighting, hating, arguing, or whatever, right? And you're letting that love come through. All of a sudden they're feeling love back. It's the beautiful, you know, kind of infinite energy of give and take, that flow. So we start to see that relationships can unravel and change in a really positive way. Maybe you decide, oh, I think I'll, you know, let's go to therapy, let's go to marriage counseling, you know, or it's over. This person is not going to choose to make a change.
And that might be for your better good, about standing up on your own, having a voice, not allowing people to belittle you and make you small. And that might be the lesson you're here to learn. And having that strength and confidence to walk away is huge. So gaining clarity on that can be extremely beneficial as you navigate through some of those difficult times.
Yes. Yeah, it's absolutely the truth. Standing in our power as divine souls, coming into alignment with our soul plan and our soul path, that's really kind of the big picture that we're coming to, learn about, work through, align with. So that is kind of part of the big process. Often people say, what's my soul purpose? And I say, well, you have many purposes. It's how boring would that be if it was one thing, right?
Especially if you never get there.
That's right. So it might be to be a parent and to, be a lover, to have a heartfelt relationship, to write a book, to teach something. It may be to be a very supportive daughter, and how that shows up in so many different ways. So they're complicated. They're often I say very often our soul purpose, it looks a little bit more like an archetype, so to be of service, to be the teacher, to be the healer, the priest, the sage, the king, the queen, the magician. So a lot of that energy is in that bigger picture of who we are as a soul.
Right, right. And I love that you talked about, because I think this is so important. I find that people often get stuck in a certain role. And as time goes through our continuum in this physical life, our children grow, they leave the empty nest syndrome, you retire. All those dynamics change. And if you're still trying to be the individual you were 20 years ago with that same responsibility, you're missing where you are now and where that growth potentiality is. And so sometimes we need to really open up to that transitional growth, that transitional life, and that we're not stuck. And I think that's why so many times people are so dissatisfied with life, because they get stuck and they stay stuck.
Right. That's right. I agree completely. We feel like, well, I'm married. I have had this job, I can't really complain. But, it's like, what is my higher purpose? What else is there for me to do? How else can I be of service? How else can I shine my light? How else can I be, the divine soul that I really came to be? And really working in the records, learning to access your own records, to me, I find is about receiving divine guidance daily, so you can stay on the highest and best path for you each and every day.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, and all of these new thought leaders, as we've been around, we all come from it from a different vantage point, a different direction. But for me, it's the power within us, which is also connected to the higher source, higher wisdom. And when you use that power within yourself, that inner wisdom, you can be powerful beyond measure. And Lisa is one of my expert guests on my summit that we're having very shortly, powerfulbeyondmeasuresummit.com. And she has a free gift there for you and a really special offer that's drastically reduced just for the participants of the summit. So if you enjoyed listening to Lisa here tonight, giving you a lot more in-depth conversation here and more to come in the summit, I encourage you to go to www.powerfulbeyondmeasuresummit.com, and you can listen to Lisa and 27 other experts from all around the world talking about every topic possible. And so, Lisa, do you have any parting words that you want to share with the audience that's listening about the summit, about go out and buy our book, number one. And it's also a wonderful gift. I always say, sometimes you buy these things and you say, oh, this person would really benefit from it. And we're always good at giving out wisdom. And often I always say to my clients, pretend there's a wall there, and that wisdom you're giving out is actually wisdom that you need to hear yourself. And so buy 2 books. Buy one for you and buy one for someone else. It's a wonderful gift to give.
Right. I completely agree. And I'm excited to listen to the summit and hear some of these amazing experts you have on, because the energy of these people, they're beautiful, spiritual teachers and wise, beautiful, wise men and women, and really listening and experiencing the energy is healing in its own right. So of course, on the summit, I love to do some of the prayers, some of the healing, some of this sort of work for people, so that you can really experience it, and it helps to shift and transform your life as you're listening to this wonderful information.
Right. And please have it be a family affair. Instead of watching that TV or everyone on their iPads and their, phones,
Right.
say, we're going to spend a half an hour, we're going to listen to this. So your family dynamics can grow, your soul family can evolve together. And so I encourage you all to come. And Lisa, thank you for taking some time tonight to talk about yourself, your work, your heart. You are fabulous. You're known so much around the world, and your work is really pivotal and totally changes people's lives. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, Cindy. It's really a pleasure. Thank you so
Great.
much.
And thank you for those that are listening tonight. And I hope to see you at the summit. It starts next week on March 6th. Again, go to powerfulbeyondmeasuresummit.com. Until we see you again, take care. And remember, you are powerful beyond measure. Have a blessed night.